Let's continue to unpack the impact Hani had on South Africa. I'm joined by Young Communist League Secretary Mzwandile Thakudi. Thank you very much, Mr. Thakudi, for joining us in studio this evening. Can you tell us what was the overwhelming sentiment at today's commemorative event?
No, as it is always the case, the sentiment was that of exhibition of courage and sacrifice and service in accordance to the YCL's observation, which we do believe is in emulation of Chrysan's attributes.
So a family and a country and an organization still in mourning 30 years on due to these many unanswered questions. Those unanswered questions seem to be the focus of a lot of the speakers at today's commemorative event. But 30 years on, there's been a lot of time to call for a renewed inquest. What's prompted the strength of this call and the support for that call now?
Obviously, the YCL, as well as the South African Communist Party, has had a long-standing position on the inquest of Comrade Chrysan to be opened on a variety of times to no success or fruition. It is for that reason that we've taken it upon ourselves to mount an even rigorous campaign.
And the parole of Janusz Walus, has that had an impact on the sentiment within the party, within the SACP and the Young Communist League, that now is the time?
Most definitely. Most definitely. At the time of the ruling, you would recall, our headquarters, the South African Communist Party, characterized it as sickeningly disappointing. And you would know that scientifically, Newton's law number 2 dictates that for each and every action there is an equal reaction. And I should think this mood is a reflection of that.
So we know that there are still many unanswered questions about who else was involved, why this happened when it happened. Do you have hope that so many years after the assassination you'll get answers from people who've been so tight-lipped for 30 years, people who have refused to tell the truth for 30 years, and that an inquest would succeed in solving some of those unanswered questions?
We are inspired greatly by these seamless efforts to seem to somehow suppress the intended petition, or inquest rather. It is making us even more curious.
How many signatures do you have so far in support of that petition?
Like our General Secretary announced, that there are thousands and thousands of signatures. There is momentum and hype in the country, and we are calling on all other peace-loving people to join us in the petition, and all other peace-loving South Africans.
You have the support of the Hani family, you have the support of the ANC. What is the process now, apart from garnering more support in terms of signatures on that petition? How many are you aiming for, and what are the legal processes from there on?
Our General Secretary would have said, announced that arising from the recently held augmented Central Committee of the South African Communist Party, the minimum would have identified in commemoration of 30 years is 30,000. But it seems it was modest of us, because numbers are growing rapidly. And as such, it is for that reason that we wish to call on to all other people to be part of this endeavor. And the petition, we intend, like the announcement was made, that we are taking a legal route, and that is our course of action, though coupled with this social and public mobilization of all people who wish to see social justice.
We heard a little bit earlier from a cousin of Chris Hani that he was an incredibly ethical leader, someone who was very focused on justice, especially for the underserved. What do you think Chris Hani, were he alive today, or if we could somehow communicate with him where he is now, would say about how the situation is unraveling, that 30 years on after his assassination, there still are so many unanswered questions, and that justice has seemingly not been served in his death?
Quite correctly, like he is being explained following literature, even seen a lot of other information about him. We do believe that he would feel the same way the family is feeling. It is for that reason that in these difficult times we express our deepest sympathies, more particularly with the treatment that they've been getting. The victimization of Medi Mpohani is one issue which we are taking into serious light as a Young Communist League, in the context also, of course, of the ensuing gender-based violence, femicide, and otherwise patriarchal remnants of society that brings about many other social illnesses, especially towards females, especially an old lady and a widow such as Medi. We must say that we are taken aback.
Thank you so much for coming into studio and for speaking to us as we commemorate the assassination of Chris Hani today. That was Young Communist League Secretary Mzwandile Thakudi giving us an update on the petition initiated by the SACP to gain signatures in support of a renewed inquest into the death of Chris Hani.